Hello everyone and welcome to the inaugural episode of Vorpal Tales Presents Tyler's Terrifying Tales, wherein we will play in a variety of dark and creepy RPG game systems made to terrify and amuse. On the topic of horror and suspense gaming, it should be noted that this show is not child-friendly and will contain adult language, adult humor, violence, stupid jokes, and an unrealistic form of mental illness. As such, parental discretion is advised. If anyone is interested in the tools we use, we'll have them in the description, and the source we got for the licensed music, but we cannot redistribute it for download, unfortunately. The first campaign will be Call of Cthulhu 7th edition, and I will be your Keeper of Arcane Secrets, commonly called Keeper for short. I've been playing tabletop RPGs since 1992, beginning with Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. I first discovered the game in 1989 because of my cousin's vast collection of RPG and fiction books, and started occasionally dabbling. Once I discovered the original Ravenloft box set in AD&D 2nd edition with the full group a few years later, I was all in and never looked back. I am a horror and suspense fanatic in any genre and will voraciously consume any promising horror-themed RPG or video game I can get my hands on. I am also, among other authors, a massive Lovecraft fan. I currently run multiple virtual RPG games weekly with these super dope peeps as well as several others. In the last few years we've run stories in Dark Heresy, Black Crusade, World of Darkness, 20th Anniversary, Chronicles of Darkness, this game, Delta Green, All Flesh Must Be Eaten, and D20 Modern Nocturnum. This year we're doing Waterdeep in 5e, Pathfinder's First Edition campaign Strange Aeons, and Age of Ashes in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, which is super awesome. I don't often get the chance to be a player in games, but starting this week I will also be playing in Pathfinder 2nd Edition Extinction Curse campaign, which you can watch right here on this channel. It will be an awesome fun time and a nice change of tone from horror to classic fantasy to mix things up. That's enough about me. On to Sean. Tell us about you.
Hi, I'm Sean, Space Lord Pajamas on the internet. Gaming has sort of been life for me. I was introduced to role-playing mostly through video games. Early on, I loved the epic tales and the story centering around myself in games like Dragon Warrior or Quest, depending on where you're from, or Final Fantasy. I remember in a bookstore I saw a D&D book. I think it was the 2nd edition at the time. I asked my mom what it was, and I remember she said, "No, you don't want to get into that. I think that's devil worship." So that sort of stunned me, as I was still like a God-fearing Sunday school going boy. But I was like, yeah, but that barbarian looks pretty kick-ass with that battle axe, so I should figure this stuff out. The closest I really got to doing stuff was I found some old ripped up AD&D books in like a beat up Hero Quest box, and me and my friends just kind of made up stories, but I was always the one that ended up doing the stories, so I would just come up with stuff on the fly, playing with our friends, and storytelling is just sort of in me. I love telling stories. Tabletop lets me do that. 3.5 D&D, as far as I'm concerned, is the best system. You can debate me on that one. Go ahead. The ways you can break the game still just amaze me. Like, just the way you can combine characters and feats and just break that game is awesome. That's probably why I love Pathfinder and Starfinder so much, as it has its roots in 3.5. My true heart lies, though, with Savage Worlds, with its freeform character builds. As I've grown older, just classes are stupid. For the love of the dice, though, man, like I love systems. I think I get more out of just reading source books than actually playing. I've gotten more into cosmic horror as the years have worn on. As a kid, it's just, it was just some scary, weird shit that doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you read Lovecraft stories. But as an adult, as death sort of encroaches and the years wear on, you get worried about legacy and the life you're going to live and what you're going to leave behind. Personal things become more important, and a devil trying to steal your soul that's kind of passé in comparison to an entity that could wipe out your existence, either because it doesn't care or just doesn't comprehend your existence. That's terrifying. a lot of cosmic horror tends to start with some guys so broken they'll do anything to end their suffering existence, and they'll conjure up some dark being from beyond time and space and comprehension, strange power, and just driven mad by heartbreak. And that's terrifying. That's intriguing. That's a story I want to participate in.
Steve.
Hello. I am Steven, either one. I did not originally have in my intro planned, but Sean, I have the exact same story about a busted up Hero Quest box when I was a kid. We found one that was missing one of the sides of the top of the box, and I was like, I want that game that has the giant barbarian with the sword on it. And yeah, I guess that was technically my first introduction to something role-playing wise. But from that point forward, I got into gaming around 2005. The year some asshole named Sean got me into a random superhero RPG at a comic store I had been to twice. I had no idea what I was getting in, but here I am 15 years later, still playing with that guy. I've run and played in countless campaigns, D&D, Savage Worlds, Mutant Masterminds, many other systems. Eric has sent 20 different diceless systems my way that we've tried out along the years, and they're all awesome. I've been a lifelong horror fan of all genres and mediums, but I've sadly only played a few horror games in regard to playing in tabletop. I have played World of Darkness, Unknown Armies, Call of Cthulhu, but in very short bursts. But then recently I ran some friends through a module of Mansions of Madness, and seeing the fear in their eyes as the monster consumed them one by one was one of the greatest gaming experiences I've had. And I knew that this was something that was going to be awesome, and I'm ready to jump headfirst into this, and I am very excited.
Eric.
Hello, my name is Eric. I am a digital graphic artist, and I've been playing and running RPGs since I was in high school, which was a very long time ago now. I cut my teeth on RPGs with D&D 2nd Edition, but quickly branched out into other genres and systems of the hobby. I love horror, and I really love horror RPGs like Call of Cthulhu and its modern counterpart, Delta Green. There's just something about horror games in general, I guess, that sort of gels with me more than any other genre, with perhaps the possible exception of espionage and cyberpunk. But for me, it's always been a natural fit for my sort of weird and dark personality.
Sarah.
Cool. Well, I actually had no interest in gaming of any sort. I was never really good at video games or anything. By the way, I'm Sarah. That was a little backwards, but that's okay. So I've played both in-person and long distance. Having started with long distance, I went from being typing only, out of anxiety, to voice over mic and now video. Hooray! My hubby would actually tell me stories about his character's escapades, and it was just so much fun to hear about. I was always asking when a session was done, what'd you do this time? What'd you do this time? So my friend that I call my big brother said I should try at least once. And he basically didn't give me a choice. He goes, I'm making you a character sheet. And I'm like, fuck. So I played and I was hooked ever since. I've played different styles of games. I've done about 3 years of playing now, so I'm kind of the newbie of the group. Chronicles of Darkness, World of Darkness, 2 different versions of D&D, 2 versions of Pathfinder, 3 versions of Warhammer 40k, Call of Cthulhu, Delta Green, maybe more? I don't really remember. We've done a lot in these 3 years. I really love horror and Call of Cthulhu. I didn't originally, but the darker, creepier, macabre is what I prefer over slashers. I'm a creator of dark art myself. I've shown in galleries with my more macabre style art. I've designed logos. I podcast myself on my other podcasts about autism and what it's like to live with autism. And I've always just had a lot of weird and creepy dreams. So playing Call of Cthulhu and other horror style games gives me a way to experience that world, that environment, at my own pace and really process those dreams that I've had. The brain is so cool. So I'm really excited to be in this game because the imagination, my creativity is the only limit aside from, rules. But those can be worked around. Aside from that, I think that's about it about me. I'm not too wordy.
Well, that's all of us in order of most cool to least cool, but reversed. Okay. Let's talk about Call of Cthulhu.
Sean had to think about that for a second.
We'll be playing Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. I've been playing this game since around the 4th edition of the game and could wax on about it for so long we'd all fall asleep. Suffice to say, it's a classic horror.
That's just me that falls asleep.
First, yes. But you'll still be talking. Doesn't count. It's a classic horror RPG where instead of superheroes or meteor swarm casting wizards, you're just people, faced with incomprehensible cosmic entities, vastly more powerful than you and mad cultists bent on the destruction of humanity. It's a game where winning often means driving the eldritch horrors back for as long as possible and escaping with your life, and if you're really lucky, but probably not, with your sanity. From the description on the Chaosium webpage, Call of Cthulhu 7th edition is horror role-playing in the worlds of H.P. Lovecraft. The Old Ones ruled the earth aeons before the rise of man. Traces of their Cyclopean cities can still be found on remote islands buried amid the shifting desert sands. And in the frozen wastes of the polar extremes, originally they came to this world from the stars. They sleep now, some deep within the earth or beneath the sea. And when the stars are right, they shall walk again on the earth. Call of Cthulhu is a tabletop role-playing game based upon the worlds written by H.P. Lovecraft and his followers after. It's a game of secrets, mysteries, and horror. Playing the role of steadfast investigators, you travel to strange and dangerous places, uncover foul plots, and stand against the terrors of the Cthulhu mythos. You encounter sanity-blasting entities, monsters, and insane cultists. Within strange and forgotten tomes of lore, you discover revelations that man was not meant to know. You and your companions may very well decide the fate of the world. A note on pronunciation. We're going to call him Cthulhu here because it's the easiest way to say it, even though I'm sure most of us know it's actually supposed to be like Cthulhu and nobody can say it right. We're not going to do that because it's dumb.
Says who?
Lovecraft in one of his notes actually wrote how to pronounce it out, and it's Cthulhu. I can't do it right. You should look it up sometime. It's great.
Probably has a little more in it.
Yes.
You gotta hit that phlegm.
That's no fun.
All of the materials used in this broadcast will be using a combination of PDFs and hard copies purchased from Chaosium on their website or through Roll20 for the really awesome Roll20 add-on they've created for this game, which we'll put in the description of the video. Since we're talking about Lovecraft, for anyone who's new to this, I'm going to talk a second about H.P. Lovecraft. Howard Phillips Lovecraft was an American writer of weird fiction and horror fiction who is known for his creation of what we call the Cthulhu mythos. The mythos was expanded upon at first by his close friends and fellow writers, and then as time passed by an increasingly huge following. He first started to attempt to publish frequently during World War I, and it's clear the war had an effect on his writing. He wrote and published stories that focused on his interpretation of humanity's place in the universe. In his view, humanity was an unimportant part of an uncaring cosmos that could be swept away at any moment. Throughout his adult life, he was never able to support himself from earnings as an author and an editor. He was virtually unknown and almost exclusively published in cheap pulp magazines before he died in poverty at the ripe young age of 46 from stomach cancer, but is now regarded as one of the most significant 20th century authors of supernatural horror fiction. The name of the game we'll be playing is based on one of his most famous tales, The Call of Cthulhu. Other celebrated stories that may interest people include The Rats in the Walls, At the Mountains of Madness, The Shadow over Innsmouth, The Dunwich Horror, and several others. His work touches on several recurring themes, most prominently forbidden knowledge, non-human influences on humanity, inherited guilt, meaning horrible crimes or mutations committed by or in your bloodline, fate, and civilization under threat of destruction. And since we're talking about Lovecraft, we're not going to shy away from a note about the darker side of his time period. Racism and sexism. Race is the most controversial aspect of Lovecraft's legacy, expressed in many disparaging remarks he made against the various non-Anglo-Saxon races and cultures in his work. As he grew older, his original Anglo-Saxon-centric racial worldview morphed into classism or elitism, which regarded the superior race to include all of those who bettered themselves through high culture. He did not hold even all white people in uniform high regard, but rather only really esteemed English-descended people or the English themselves. His private writings on groups such as Irish Catholics, German immigrants, and African Americans were especially and consistently negative. He showed sympathy to those who adopted Western culture, including marrying a Jewish woman who he viewed as well assimilated. A marriage that, shockingly, did not last. Lovecraft's racial attitude was common in the society of his day, especially in New England where he grew up. That last statement's not meant as an excuse and is merely a statement. In no way excuses the behavior, though. As for the game itself, it's set in the 20s and 30s, and the world was a very different place then. Behaviors most of us would find repugnant today were ordinary and acceptable then. Racism, xenophobia, religious bias, and sexual discrimination were part of everyday life and often loudly espoused. Many laws systematically supported segregation and discrimination of every sort, and social forces of great power underwrote that legislation. As far as Chaosium, scenario authors and keepers can choose to ignore social history as not germane, or to decide to incorporate specific elements in their plots, but most of their supplements are written to ignore it. For myself and all of us in this game, we do have the conflict of loving his stories but hating his personal views. I'm not going to go into any lengthy debate on how to reconcile the grosser parts of old literature while still being able to love the literature itself. Those are whole videos in themselves, but I will say that in this game, our PCs will exhibit a very modern sensibility for the time the game is set in, and no intentional portrayals of racism will take place. As far as sexism, the heroes will not be sexist, despite the world of the time being greatly so. The game will have no portrayal of bigotry against any sexual preference, and as far as how women were viewed in the time, I will minimize direct conflict as much as possible, and I'm sure our characters will show the small-minded NPCs the error of their ways if it comes up. Additional themes of Lovecraft horror included risks of a scientific area, such as science cannot comprehend the horror this discovery will lead to. Religion, in that his works are ruled by several distinct pantheons of what the cultists think are deities, but are in fact aliens worshipped by humans, who are either indifferent or actively hostile to us. And of course, the theme of superstition. He drew extensively from his native New England for settings in his fiction, mixing existing locales with enduring fictional places he created, such as Arkham, Massachusetts, and the storied Miskatonic University. These places would come to be known as Lovecraft Country. Now, on to the campaign. We're going to be playing the most ambitious Call of Cthulhu campaign ever made, Masks of Nyarlathotep. Nyarlathotep? Masks! The campaign Masks, written by Larry DiTilio and Lynn Willis. Larry was a TV and movie writer who did RPG modules when he wasn't working on shows. He did almost all of He-Man, everyone cheer, TVs and movies. He also did The Real Ghostbusters and Babylon 5, executive story editor.
Wow.
Wait, so the guy that wrote this wrote all that?
Yep, also
Wow.
he worked on Transformers, Swamp Thing, and Fat Albert.
That man is a god.
I was going to say, this man is a national hero.
Where is his monument?
The other writer, Lynn Willis,
In our hearts.
was a passionate war game and RPG designer. He created a bunch of games nobody but Eric's probably ever heard of. But he did work on RuneQuest and the basic RPG rules, the Ghostbusters RPG, and a bunch of Chaosium titles in the 80s.
There's a Ghostbusters RPG.
It's an
Damn
old
right
80s
there
game.
is.
It's great. It is
You
one
know
of
what I
the-
want for my birthday?
I actually have it, and we should run it sometime. It is one of the most enduring campaign modules produced for Call of Cthulhu, and one of the most acclaimed RPG modules ever. The first edition was published in 1984, and then republished in '89 for a different version of the rules. 1996 made an expanded and revised version, and then in 2006 they made more prints, and in 2010 to clean it up, and then once again, last but not least, in 2018 they created the 7th edition, which is what we are using. In my opinion, it's in its best form it's ever been in, and the easiest to run. It's earned critical and popular praise ever since it was first released, and has won, among others, the Origin Award for Best RPG Adventure. The updated and revised 7th edition got a bunch of nominations for awards last year. I don't think it won any, but Dragon Con Best Adventure, Origin Awards for Fan Favorite, Origin Awards for Best RPG Supplement, it always wins awards every time, or gets nominated every time it's printed. It is a sandbox-style, non-linear campaign, which makes it a massive management job for the keeper. But the 7th edition of it has added comprehensive guidance to make running and playing it the easiest it's ever been. If you purchase the physical... What?
This is Tyler's way of saying, I'm doing a lot of work here.
Hey, you better appreciate me. If you don't appreciate me, you're going to need a lot of backup characters. If you purchase the physical copy of this product, you may be daunted at first, but don't let that hold you back. The book is 669 pages front to back. The box set comes with the book, handout supplements, an NPC portrait supplement, a keeper screen, a keeper reference booklet, and all kinds of artwork. The layouts are great, and the artwork is amazing. We'll use a bunch of it in here. As for the feel of the campaign, the story tries to strike a balance between pure cosmic horror and pulp adventures of the period. In the words of the book itself, the campaign can now be played in whatever style you prefer, whether it be the slow, creepy, and gritty horror of classic Call of Cthulhu, or the fast-paced, full-throttle action of pulp Cthulhu. For us, I'm going to strike a balance somewhere in the middle. I'm going to make you all feel like you're always going to die while letting you be Indiana Jones every now and then.
I always feel like I'm going to die, so that's anxiety.
As for the supplement itself, personally I think it has far more positives than negatives to outweigh it. Its original printing may have focused a little too much on all of the not white races were attacking white defenders of civilization, and the white defenders had to save everyone to bring civilization to the world, but they've cleaned most of that up in the 7th edition. That was my only real complaint. Original editions also didn't have a keeper guide and didn't have a supplement on the locations, and it goes to so many places that kind of needed it, and they've added one in the new edition. It's like 100 pages. It's great. And whoever wrote it really likes Australia. But enough about all that. Now that we know what we're doing, let's make some characters.
Yay!
All of that was really important. I want to acknowledge that. But I would like to point out that on our screen here, Lake Titicaca has been in center.
You're welcome.
Lake Titicaca. Okay.
Now let me give you a blurb. A dire plan has been enacted. If allowed to come to fruition, it threatens to destroy humanity as we know it, but all is not lost. If a few brave souls can uncover and piece together certain information, they might stand against the darkness and prevent the unspeakable from happening. Facing dark cults, strange lore, hideous monsters, and a host of implacable foes, you will embark on a journey of discovery to face the ultimate horror. Beginning in Peru in 1921, a prologue to the campaign will introduce you to Jackson Elias, a charming author whose research uncovers a sinister worldwide plot. Ultimately, you will follow the trail of the mysterious Carlisle expedition, beginning in New York City in 1925, and then moving overseas to England, Egypt, Kenya, Western Australia, and China. With enemies at every turn, the path is fraught with danger. Will you survive with your life and sanity intact?
Yes.
Good answer,
Yes.
Steve. The first answer
Yes.
was a good answer.
Yes, yeah, we're good.
Okay. Roll 20.
I'm gonna punch it.
Sean's gonna be the first to go.
Probably.
Is anyone wearing a red shirt?
So for Roll 20, we're using for this game, we're using the actual created Call of Cthulhu recently released rule set compendium that Roll20 provides. It's like $55, and it's definitely worth it because it's got everything that's in the core rulebook, and the character sheet is very pretty.
Yep, I got it.
One
too.
up so everyone can see it. Big, easy to read. Tabs are great. Everything's cool. For you guys that are looking at the screen right now, left click on one of your tokens, and then click the button next to the gear icon. I have incorporated a specific token markers for this game that we can use. You'll notice they look different than the default ones. We have tokens. Yeah. We have markers for each type of insanity at the varying levels of insanity. Markers so you know who has what weapon, and most importantly, a marker for who has the flashlight. It's also got magic status markers, luck status markers, whether you've pushed a roll or failed to push, and status conditions.
Neat. Cool. Very cool.
Let's take a quick look at the sheet for people watching. So on this sheet, it has edit mode, not edit mode. In edit mode, you can add all your numbers. When you change it out of edit mode, it highlights everything and makes it easier to read and takes away your ability to change anything. It's got a big button in your face to do whisper rolls without it being default. Difficulty modifier right in the middle, and tabs for every part of the actual character sheet. I think this character sheet is free to anyone whether you buy the compendium or not, but the compendium integrates with it.
Aha! You're using my sheet.
I am using your sheet. For those watching, that's another thing we'll do as they create their characters. I will open their sheets so you can all see what they're doing, because I can see everything. There are no secrets from me.
Cool.
That's what he thinks.
The keeper knows all.
Okay. First things first, characteristics. All these numbers across the top. Strength, constitution, size, dexterity, appearance, education, intelligence, and power. Characteristic is one of 8 numbers that creates the foundations for your investigator. The numbers help you determine basic capabilities and help suggest ways for you to act and react as this person. Popping open the book here. There are multiple ways one can create these characteristics. We went with the standard method of rolling each one in order and applying them to the number as you rolled them. I did make it a little easier on them because this campaign is so long. I rolled, they were allowed to keep the better of the rolls. And that way we can hopefully cut down on backup characters. Other ways, though, that do exist, I'll just go over real quick, are modifying low rolls. If you have 3 or more under 10, for instance, roll an additional die 6 and share out the points. The book says is a way to do it. Another option is rolling them and then choosing where the numbers go, like D&D or Pathfinder. They do have a point buy option, where you have 460 points to spend, and you can spread them out as you want, a minimum of 15, maximum of 90 to any characteristic. If you do that, they recommend a minimum value of 40 for intelligence and size, although these can be lower if your keeper agrees. And lastly, the Quickfire Method, which is to allocate a set of numbers ranging from 40 to 80 that the book gives you, and you just set them up automatically without rolling anything or doing any math. Like I said, we rolled in advance for everyone with a little boost from the keeper, and then they applied any age modifiers as necessary. Characteristic values are generated randomly by rolling 2 or more 6-sided dice. Some rolls are 3d6, some are 2d6 plus 6 to avoid a threshold you would go under. Each number that you roll is multiplied by 5 to generate a percentage. Everything in Call of Cthulhu 7th edition is percentage based. It's pretty easy to pick up on once you do it for a little while. Any numbers that are not percentages are derived from your percentages. And in Roll20's case, the sheet does it for you. Less work. I hate math.
Don't we all?
I lose my nerd card. At the end, after they applied all of their age modifiers, I gave them the choice of allowing to either swap 2 numbers between characteristics or re-roll any one to better help fit the concepts they had in mind. Each number you'll see for characteristics and skills has a base percentage value, and then has a half and a fifth value. What that means when it comes up is there are three kinds of rolls. There's a regular roll, a hard roll, and an extreme roll. Regular uses your base number. A hard roll you must equal to or go under your half value to succeed, and an extreme roll you must equal to or under a fifth value to succeed. So when that comes up, that's why those exist. From those characteristics, you get derived attributes. What this means is your hit points, your sanity, your magic points, your damage bonus, and your bulk. It's not called bulk. When we get to it, I'll give you the right word. Constitution plus size will equal your hit points. So take your strength, your constitution, and your size, divide by 5, add them together, you get your hit points. Movement rate is derived from your strength plus your size. Your movement rate is, you multiply that by 5, that's the number of yards or meters you can go in one round in an action. You also derive your luck at that stage, which you can use to modify rolls. And I'm looking for that right word. Nope, didn't put it in there. We're going to go over some things that apply specifically to these derived attributes. So, movement. Chases. Call of Cthulhu is a game where a lot of things you can't punch, sorry Sean, and win. There's a lot of running in this game. Therefore, they made running, they made chase scenes as exciting and dynamic as possible, and it's unlike any other system. It's pretty cool. Action scenes in films and books tend to fall into one of two categories: fights or chases. The extended chase scene in The Shadow over Innsmouth is one of the most dynamic and memorable action sequences Lovecraft wrote. The chase scene should provide just as much drama and excitement as combat in a game where you have to run a lot. So, a chase in this game is more than a simple speed test. It's made up of a string of dramatic locations that challenge you as you race through them. You might begin in a crowded marketplace before going down narrow alleys, jumping a fire escape, breaking through a window, and pursuing the bad guy through an apartment where the family's eating lunch. So
Very Indiana Jones-esque.
Yes. The chase is played out in rounds, much like combat. As each character's turn begins, the keeper would describe the situation, then ask what actions the investigators are taking that turn. Only then will I decide what dice to roll, the outcome of which is incorporated into the story. If the fleeing character is a lot faster than his or her opponent, escape is likely, and vice versa, capture is likely. A single skill roll for each character is used to establish the chase, yielding one of two options. The fleeing character is faster than the pursuer, in which case the chase is not played out, the fleer gets away. The pursuer is fast enough to catch the fleeing character. If this is the case, we immediately move the chase to the most exciting moment, the moment where the pursuer is closing in on the fleeing person. So, quick how it works, we'll get more into it the first time it happens, but everybody does a speed roll, which will adjust your movement rating for the duration of the chase. The speed roll is a con check if you're on foot or their self-propelled mode. If it's a car or a motorcycle, it's a drive roll. On a success, your move rate is its current value, nothing changes. On an extreme success, you get +1 to your move for this chase. On a failure, you get -1 to your move for this chase. You line everyone up like initiative based on your movements, and you take actions in order for the chase. It's a lot like a fight scene, but you're not really fighting. Luck. Luck rolls might be called for by me when circumstances external to anything you can control are in question, and also when determining the fickle hand of fate. Luck will only be used, I'll only make you use it if a skill or characteristic does not apply at all, we don't know what else to do. I also might do group luck checks sometimes, meaning the person with the lowest luck rolls for the rest of you, if it's something really bad that may or may not happen to the whole group. Luck can also be spent by you as the players. You can use luck points to alter a roll you've already made on a one-for-one basis. The points spent are deducted from your luck score, which then permanently drops unless you alter it post-session. You cannot spend luck points on luck rolls, damage rolls, sanity rolls, or rolls to determine how much sanity you lose. However, you can spend any amount of luck points up to your current luck value on any other roll. You can only use luck to alter your own rolls, not someone else's. So when you fail a skill roll, you'll have 3 choices. Accept the fail, spend luck points, or push the roll, which we'll get to later. Also, you cannot use luck points to alter a push roll. And you cannot buy off criticals, fumbles, or firearm malfunctions with luck points. When we get to skill improvements, this will make more sense, but you cannot use luck to change your skill improvement checks either. Only things that happen in-game, not after. After each session of play, everybody will make an improvement check for your luck. So, much like an actual skill check that happens thematically when chapters are ended to improve skills, except it happens every session. You'll roll a D100, and if the roll is above your current luck score, you add a D10 points back. If it's equal to or less than, you don't recover any points that week. It can never exceed 99, but it could exceed your starting value. Intelligence. So, intelligence is used more often than the rest of these characteristics for idea and intelligence rolls. If you're trying to solve an intellectual puzzle of some kind, and you can't roleplay it out, you'll do a straight int roll. And I'll give you a hint or the solution. An idea roll uses intelligence, but is not an int roll. You still have to roll equal to or below your intelligence characteristic, but if you get stuck in your investigation, or I determine you've missed a vital clue, or you just don't know what to do next, either you or I can say, let's do an idea roll, and then we can push you back online that way without me having to break character to drop dramatic hints. However, doing this will obviously come at some cost to the group. Knowledge rolls, which they just call no rolls in Call of Cthulhu. These are education rolls. So, if it's something, so like you don't have a bunch of knowledge skills like Pathfinder or D&D and Cthulhu, you do no rolls. So, even without having chemistry or geography, you might be able to recall from your schooling that pouring water into sulfuric acid is bad, or where Tibet is, without a navigate roll. So, just because you don't have the appropriate skill doesn't mean you're stuck. The higher college people in the party will know more things. Thus is the end of characteristics. And now I'm going to open Sean's sheet, because we're about to do the stuff they haven't done yet.
My sheet is the best
Clive!
sheet.
So we're going to move right down to skills. Step 2 of character creation is determine your occupation. Your occupation shows how you make a living and reflects your field of expertise. It sets up what skills should be higher or are more important to your character. It has limited effect during play, and is more a basis for your starting skills and helping to define your backstory. So, Sean, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about the character you want to make?
So, my character is an investigative journalist named Clive Caldwell. He's in his late 20s. He's usually slinging weird stories to Sci-Fi Rags magazine. However, he's known to write the occasional puff piece for celebrities, as they enjoy his unusual phrases. While he knows there's a nugget of truth in any weird story, he feels compelled to seek out the truth in a story. He knows the reader wants something ostentatious to titillate their brain hole. One of his more recent pieces was to be on an eccentric billionaire, but he was beaten to the punch by a rival writer because deadlines are not his forte. So, yeah. He gets really caught up in the story and forgets to actually write the story.
Okay, so then the book has a bunch of different sample occupations. The additional player's guide also has more additional sample occupations.
I found journalist.
Yes, and for Sean's case, it's going to be journalist. So the number of skill points you will get for a journalist is your education times 4.
Which is 340.
And then the class skills, as it were, are listed under journalist for the people who can't
Do
see
I
the
get
book.
do I get anything for it being a class skill?
You get access to those skills, sort of. You don't get any boost to them. You do, however, get other points after you sign these skills. Once you apply your skill points to your occupation skills and your credit rating, you get personal interest skill points to put in anything you want. That's where most classes will get like weapon and fighting skills, because most classes don't have those as a default.
So I've got 340. Do I just start dumping points into skills?
The ones listed by journalist in the book, yes.
And I can only dump into those skills, right?
At this stage, correct. And your credit rating. Your credit rating could be between 9 and 30 points. You gotta put at least 9 in.
Alright.
I'll go over some of that while you're doing the numbers. Everybody can watch you do your numbers. But, I have a handy chart here that helps people understand what these mean. It loads. Not counting Cthulhu Mythos or credit rating. Rating of 1 to 5% means you're a novice or complete amateur. A rating of 6 to 19% means you're a beginner with a small amount of knowledge in the field. A rating of 20 to 49% means you have some talent or rudimentary training. And a rating of 50 to 74% means you are a professional. You could do this for a living. Or you have a bachelor's degree in it. A rating of 75 to 89, you're an expert. And a 90 means you're probably one of the best in the world at it. Humans cannot go above 99.
What's the difference between the different like social skills like charm, fast talk, persuade, and intimidate? I guess I kind of get.
Fast talk is deception, and charm is diplomacy.
Oh, okay.
Persuade and charm are similar, but persuade uses logic, which means if there's an opposed skill check, I'm going to make you roll intelligence. Charm, I'm going to make you roll like appearance, maybe.
So, with skill, if there's already a number there, I just add to that, right?
Correct. Those are the base numbers every human starts with.
Okay.
Either just because we're human or because even grade school teaches you a few things. You cannot add points to Cthulhu Mythos at this stage. While he's doing that, I'm going to go over some dice stuff, since we're talking about skill points that he can succeed on rolls with. Fumbles and criticals. A 1 is always a critical success. And if the dice roll required for you to succeed is 50 or higher, and you roll a 100, you always fumble. If the dice roll required for you to succeed is below 50, and you roll a 96 or higher, you fumble. It's a higher chance to fumble if you suck at the thing.
Makes sense.
Bonus and penalty dice. Primarily this will come up with opposed dice rolls and with my special rules we'll get to much later. Sometimes the prevailing conditions, environment, and time can really screw up a roll. When that happens, I may grant a bonus die or a penalty die to the roll you're doing. What that means is that the tens place, you roll twice and take the better of the result. It's like advantage in 5th edition. It comes up rarely in this game, but it will come up. I'm pointing it out. Your credit rating determines your income level in 3 ways. It determines your cash spending, the actual living standard you can maintain, and how much you can push to get something that's really expensive. This game doesn't record individual money amounts because that's dumb in a game that's realistic. You can't live off gold pieces in America in 1925. I guess maybe you could in the mountains, but not in a city. So your credit rating will determine the lifestyle, type of accommodations, travel, and expenses you can comfortably afford. So technically, anything in the book that says it requires a credit rating at least 1 point lower than your credit rating, you could buy every single day. But if you abuse that too much, I'm going to make you roll your credit rating and you're going to lose credit because you're pushing beyond your means. In play, you can also get an increase in your credit rating if you have a cash fall, or you can choose to go into debt and it could lower. Like you sold your house because you really need a thing. that's what that number is for. Skill specializations. Some broad skills are broken into specializations. You must spend those points on the specialization version, not all versions. For instance, you can't just buy fighting. You have to buy fighting brawl, or fighting sword, or fighting whip. But not just fighting. Same for arts and crafts, sciences, and some kind of survivals. The book provides a lot of samples. We can make them up, but basically your specialization will be what you put your dice rolls in, but when you raise your specialization field to certain levels, it will pull up everything under it. So for instance, let's say Eric raises his brawl to 55. He's going to get like a 10% boost to any other kind of hand-to-hand fighting that would ever come up from the base level. So all of his hand-to-hand brawls become 30, but specifically boxing becomes 55, for example. Same for sciences. Everything in that category. Well, I guess types of sciences. For each skill, the book will note which skill works in opposition, and also gives an example of what constitutes a regular and hard difficulty, just for anyone interested in looking them up. So for opposed skill rolls, and to determine when it becomes a hard roll by default. Pushing skills. For each skill, a number of examples are provided in the book for what might constitute a push roll, and some of the consequences for failing a push roll. I'll probably make up more than the book has, but they're good to look at if you're interested. A push roll is when you failed, but you really want to make it happen. So, Steve tries to pick the lock, but he can't. Says, I want to push the roll. He has to tell me something dramatic he's going to change in the scenario. Maybe he kicks the shit out of the lock with all of his body weight, and the deep ones can hear him now, and they all might come charging at you. If he fails to push roll, the failure becomes dramatic. And there's a big consequence. If he succeeds, then he got to do the roll twice. That's how that works. Push rolls.
Every scene I'm in is dramatic, baby.
Push rolls will never be called by me. You guys have to say you want to do it. Once you fail a push roll, we'll throw the marker on your character, and you can't do any more push rolls for X amount of time. Because you're discouraged. Because you suck.
Sad face.
And very rarely, I'll also require combined rolls, where you got to do more than one roll to succeed at the task. How you doing, John?
I'm good.
Did you get all your skills?
I did.
Did you do... No, you didn't, because I didn't tell you to. Next, you need to do your personal,
Interest
skills.
Do those get a separate set of points, or did I...
They get a separate set of points, and they can be any skill on the page. They give
okay.
intelligence times 2.
1 second.
Yeah, you should only use those original 400 and whatever on your class skills.
Okay.
Now for the personal interest skills, you can add new skills. You can also add more points to your occupation skills. Anything you want, except Cthulhu Mythos.
You said it was intelligence times 2?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Steve.
Hello.
Have you looked at any of the sample occupations?
I have.
Have you picked one you think you like?
I have.
What is it? Why don't you tell us about your character first?
I believe that this party will be blessed to have Sidney Rockwell as a key member. Sidney Rockwell, while possibly being in his 30s, is only going to introduce himself as aged 29. He's from New York, New York, and an adventurer by way of limitless one of the most interesting people one of the most interesting 30 people under 30. Sidney is one of those who thinks anyone with a dream and endless resources can accomplish the impossible. While he spent his youth and most of his 20s a prop for his family at boring parties for the ultra-rich, Sidney has now come to control his own future. He has self-financed many expeditions to exotic locations. He's a bit aloof to himself, but takes the adventuring very serious, despite never going anywhere he can't pay someone who's already been there. He is knowledgeable in many areas, having studied at Oxford and Harvard. So again, well educated. He's very quick to learn things around him and learn from his travels, but could very easily find himself in over his head. The occupation that Sydney's going to follow
Is what? Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm saying the occupation that Sydney's going to Call of Cthulhu, I think, would be a gentleman.
Okay.
A gentleman.
Yes. So for gentleman, he's going to get his occupation skills as education ×2 plus appearance ×2. He gets a credit rating between 40 and 90. They have a few suggested contacts for someone like him to have, and then his skills include arts and crafts, 2 interpersonal skills, firearms, rifle, shotgun, history, other language, any, navigate, and ride.
Okay. Have at your point, sir.
Okay.
Eric, have you looked at the sample occupations?
I have.
Okay, tell us about your character.
All right. Well, I'm playing. My first character is going to be a wandering train-hopping tramp named Daniel Lombardi. Dan, or Greasy Dan, as he's known by some, was born in Boston to first-generation Italian and Irish immigrants. When his father died of tuberculosis, his mother was shattered and left for Europe. Following in her footsteps, Daniel traveled abroad in search of his mother. Though he never found her, he did find himself being press-ganged into joining the French Foreign Legion at the outset of the First World War. During the war, Daniel was involved in a series of misadventures, which resulted in him coming into possession of some rather esoteric antiquities. Once the war had ended, Dan used what money he had to smuggle himself out of the country and back to the United States. Faced with this new homeless reality, he sold what old oddities he had acquired to antique collectors. When that money dried up, though, he took what possessions he had and jumped on the first train he came across. In his early 40s, Dan is a rather meek and kind-hearted soul who's seen his fair share of war and suffering and still somehow manages to retain his humor and humanity. During his time as a transient, he's made contacts within the homeless community across several states and even learned the Hobo Code, a universal system of communication between vagrants utilizing hieroglyphs. Despite his occupation, or lack thereof, he retains many of the skills he picked up during the war and his connections to the antiquities dealers afterwards.
Nice. Which occupation, Drifter?
That's the only one that seemed to make sense.
Okay. Why don't you
Just
tell us how
Drifter.
your skill points work?
Wait, there's a hobo one.
No, there isn't. There used to be,
Huh?
but
There
not this
is,
one.
but it's not in the core book. However, if you'd like to look at it, I can get it for you. Hold on.
Oh, damn.
Is it in the Investigator's Handbook?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what
Ah.
it's right next to mine. That's what I
I
noticed.
was gonna say, it wasn't the 1920s Investigator in the
It's-
older editions.
I'm going to put
It's
it...
actually immediately under Gentleman.
It's right next to journalists.
I'm sending it to you, Eric, in the chat room.
Alright, cool. Pauper.
Sean, could you tell him what the skill points are? Because I don't have that on my link.
So it's education ×2
Alright. Yeah.
plus what is the APP? Appearance ×2 or Dex ×2.
Ooh, appearance or dex. Okay. Let's take a look at that. Well, I think I'll go with dexterity on that one. So it's
Okay.
dex ×2.
Your credit rating is either from 0 to 5, which mine's only a 10 I set it to, so apparently I'm a hobo as well.
Actually, I can go over that in a moment.
You said it. So education is education time. Sorry, knowledge points is education ×2 plus dex or appearance ×2.
Correct.
Yeah,
Alright.
Dex ×2 or Appearance ×2.
So that's 266 points. Okay. And personal skills, intelligence ×2.
Yep. I'm switching to your
Um,
sheet for the people watching. Watch you
I'm
make your
sending
trainer.
your skills via chat.
I gotcha. Okay.
And the credit rating thing. 1 second,
0.
because I was going to mention that. On page 46 of the book, 46 of the core book, we have a cool chart that I'll tell you if my PDF loads.
Okay, yeah, I see it. Penniless, credit rating 0, credit rating 1 to 9, poor, 10 to 49 average.
Yep.
Okay. So
50 to 89 makes you wealthy, Steve. And 90 plus makes you rich.
So I have 140
Guess
personal
who's
skills.
rich?
And a credit rating of
Money,
99
please.
is stupid rich.
Yeah. Sleight of hand, navigate. Okay, cool.
And Sarah, have you looked at the sample occupations?
I have. I was really leaning towards skilled worker, mechanic in specific.
Okay, why don't you tell us about your character?
Oh, I'm so excited about her. I'm also excited about my backup character if she ever dies. So her name is Hazel Murphy. She's 24 years old, and she's from England. She worked with the, I think they're called the British Royal Forces. Don't quote me on that. Should have done a little more research. She has connections with Sidney Rockwell. She is his personal mechanic. She fixes all the stuff that he breaks.
Which is a lot.
Yeah, he's a little overzealous with his adventures. Just a little. Her personality is ornery. She secretly hates getting dirty, but she loves fixing things. This is player knowledge, not character knowledge. She feels like she has to prove herself. She's super competitive. She loves to dance, and she's a little bit of a gambler. So,
I like it.
I'm going to attempt an English accent, just a generic BBC kind. We'll see how that goes.
I encourage that. I suck at them though, so I won't even try.
It may turn
But I
into
will
something
do
else. We'll
dramatic
find out.
voices.
I like your dramatic voices. Playing with one of your games is always a lot of fun.
And now I'm gonna jump to Sarah Sheets. People can watch that for a second.
Tyler is a super awesome DM, by the way. So if anyone ever gets to play with him that hasn't played with him before, it's pretty fantastic.
Who's Tyler?
Nah.
Anybody who gets stuck, let me know.
I just want one question. For personal skills, you do intelligence times 2 and then there's nothing else? It's just that?
Yep. And they
Okay.
can go anywhere, including your other skills you already put points in, except Cthulhu Mythos. That one can only be raised in-game.
Okay. And the ones that you pasted, that you put in the chat, those are specifically for education?
Correct. Those are
For knowledge.
specifically for your first dump of points, your hobo points.
Oh, cool. Alright. Very good, Ski. What about
You can
languages?
only do
That
2.
also works too?
Yes, I have a note on that somewhere.
Do I need to put points into my own language?
No, but more points if it ever comes up. Like, it's rarely going to come up if your home language is English.
And you can only get 2 personal skills, right?
No, you can have as many personal skills as you want, but you only have 2 times education points.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone else can hear my dog drinking water, but he's a dirty boy.
Yours is drinking water and mine's trying to talk to me.
Oh, that would be fun if you recorded some of her howls and put it in the game.
Steve would like us to make her internet famous.
Yes.
Holly's gonna be a superstar.
Holly,
She's cuter than most of us.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah, sadly.
Okay. There are 2 kinds of language, language other and language own.
Oh.
Language own, at
You
the
have a
base
default?
level, is equal to your education characteristic. I don't know if the sheet does
Okay.
that automatically.
No,
Hmm,
not
okay.
automatically. I'll
Okay.
fill that in.
The only time you ever really have to roll that is in some kind of stage debate, which won't come up often, or esoteric or deep reading in your language of a tome. I might make you roll it. A language other, I typically only allow existing languages or historical actual languages, not super old ones like Hyperborean or Aklo or stuff that exists in Lovecraft. But also the percentage isn't quite the same. So at 5%, you can identify what's being spoken without rolling. At 10%, you can communicate simple ideas back and forth. At 30%, transactional requests can be understood. At 50%, you're considered fluent. At 75%, you sound like a native speaker.
Hmm.
So if you do put points in another language, that's a guide for the values.
All right.
The only time I'd
assuming
make you
mine would-
roll a foreign language is if you have a low percentage and you want to try to do something above your percentage. I'll let you roll and see if you pull it off. Otherwise, you just succeed.
I'm assuming mine would probably know like French or something like that. A lot of European folks know-
right?
Yeah, a lot of languages, which is pretty cool.
You will be in China, Africa, and whatever the other ones were I listed. You can totally cheat and take one of those if you want. I don't care. Peru for the prequel. England, Egypt, Kenya, Western Australia, and China. So Egyptian, Kenyan, and Mandarin, or any other Chinese dialect. I would allow them all to work because they're not that realistic. I won't require you to have a specific regional dialect, even though that would be true in real life.
Wonder what kind of classes were more likely to speak those other languages that are further.
Historian, antiquarian, probably. Any kind of liberal art would probably be safe in taking those points. I don't know how many of those are in the occupation list. Or there's like an adventurer, an explorer, they'd probably have them. Indiana Jones is an occupation in this game.
And my skills are complete.
Awesome.
Nice. That was quick.
I think Sean's
He's a
done
human
too.
calculator.
Judging from the screen Sean is looking at, I think he's done too.
Hey, don't be looking at the reflection in our glasses at the things we're not paying attention to you doing.
That's hilarious.
He's still searching for that proof that you're wrong.
Oh crap! I was looking that up. It had to be that much.
One of the mysteries of this show will be what we're talking about that he's trying to prove me wrong.
Yes, it will.
And one day we will clue the audience in and prove that I am right.
Wait,
Like
were we
35
playing-
sessions.
Like and
were we
subscribe for
playing
the answer.
Fig?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my god, that's great.
That's the $100 Patreon. Was it fourth or was it third?
We're not having this discussion right now.
Yeah, we are.
No, we're not. Finish making your character. We're playing Call
I
of
did. We're filling dead air with interesting conversation.
Let's talk about Call of Cthulhu.
I believe you mean undead air.
I approve.
She gotcha. Boom, zombie roasted.
This is the reason why Tyler actually wants me to play, is because I've got the great jokes and wordplay and puns.
Her puns are the best puns.
So would you like a quick overview of Sidney Rockwell and his...
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, so again, Sidney Rockwell, gentleman. As you might be able to see, his key attributes are a strength of 70, con of 50, size 65, dexterity 60, appearance 70, education 90, great roll. Guess who's rich? Intelligence 80, power 75. So yeah, so he's very, very well educated. He's a very smart person, if not sometimes aloof. And those are kind of his key attributes. From that point on, he is to excel at being rich. I did go ahead and max out his credit rating of 90. So he is very much a financier. Hey, you play the character, you spend the points. Yes, I dumped as many points as I could into his credit rating to make sure that he does have that financier ability. Kind of starting from the top, working my way down, one of his personal skills is anthropology. I put several points into that, bring it up to a 35. With his adventuring, and with that he is, he's a wannabe adventurer, so he has, again, with his education combined in with that, he has learned a little bit of anthropology, a little bit of cultural studies in regard to that, to be able to know where he is, what he's doing. Growing up in a socialite sort of environment, he's 60, but again, going out into the jungle, he wants to climb things, because that's what rich people in other countries do. They climb things they shouldn't climb. So he has a climb of 40. A lot of kind of default skills from there, going down. Fast talk of 30. Rifle shotgun, which is his only combat skill, is a 50. The man cannot punch. The man cannot hold a handgun. He has no clue what to do. Give him a boomstick, he can point it and click it. That's about it. History of 50, again, going into that education thing. Anthropology, history kind of go hand in hand. He wants to know where he's going, what he's doing. Intimidate 35. Going all the way down a little bit more. Navigate of 40. He's actually, not the best in the world. Not bad at being able to navigate through different terrains and different places, make sure that they don't get lost. Persuade and pilot of 40. He cannot drive that well, so that's why he crashes a lot of cars and brings them to Sarah's character, but he can actually fly a plane. That's a little bit more of a dignified way of travel. Planes coming out of, it's the new frontier of travel. Yeah, those are kind of his big things. Survival 40, again, he does spend a lot in the wilderness trying to do his adventuring shtick, so he does know how to survive on his own. And that's Sidney Rockwell's mix of rich guy / extreme camper.
I think he'd probably be more along the lines of glamping, nowadays.
Yes, if glamping existed in the 20s, he would definitely be a glamper.
But I can also picture him. He's like climbing these vines up this mountainside and then reaches up and accidentally grabs a snake and goes, "What a strange vine," and keeps going.
You still work on yours, Eric?
Yeah, I had a couple questions.
Okay.
Yeah. So
fire away.
It's okay to double dip, right? Like if you put points into a skill from education, and then when you get to personal skills, you put okay. I just wanted to make sure that was all right.
Anything up to 90.
Points. Okay.
I don't allow anyone to start over 90, but you can go all the way to 99 eventually.
Interesting. Okay.
Helpful hint for sanity points: starting at 80 or lower is good, because the first time you break 85, I think it is, we'll get to that in a minute, you can do a sanity recovery roll.
That's cool.
You still working on yours, Sarah, or are you good?
I actually could use a little help with my sheet. I'm a little overwhelmed with all the options.
Let's do it.
Understandable.
Yeah, there's a lot.
How many points did you have originally? What was your occupation again?
Mechanic.
Thank you. Oh, that's skills. I'm in the wrong spot. There we go. Mechanic is a specialization of which one?
Oh, like what I work on? Cars.
Was mechanic what the occupation was actually called?
Oh.
Yes, it's on page 84, the
Thank you.
Inventor's Handbook. It is going to be education times 4.
Okay.
Nice.
What? Alright, can you put the skills in the chat for us, Steve? Since you've got that one open.
Of course.
Thank you. So, if I was you, Sarah, I would focus on the art craft, the driving, the electrical repair, mechanical repair first, and then figure out the rest after and your credit rating. What's the credit rating ranges?
So
credit-
0 to 90, I think, for
Uh,
mechanic in specific.
Oh,
I'm showing here.
Oh no, 9 to 40. Sorry, misread. I'm smart, I swear.
I'd probably put 20 or 30 points in it since you work for rich people.
Yeah,
Maybe
he's
even all
probably
40 if you really wanted to.
This... What was that amount again? I forgot what it was.
I'd do 30 or 40 if it was me, but you
30
can
or
go as low as 9. Maybe you're really bad with money and you have a lot of shoes.
You know that the mechanic garage overhead is pretty steep. So.
That's also
Oh
true.
yes. I'll stick with 30.
Okay.
I'm kind of surprised that on the sheet it doesn't show like a default percentile for brawling or any of the weapons that are listed. Isn't there like a default in the previous edition?
That's only in Delta Green. In Call of Cthulhu, there's never been one.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay.
There might have been in a really old one, but not recently.
Because on the character sheets themselves, it doesn't show like a base.
I am double checking
Some of
in
them,
the
but-
real character sheet in case anyone
But
wants
go
to
to
know. That's what it looks like.
yeah. If you go to page 56 though, on the skill list, they have different sets there. I don't know if that's
Oh, no,
correct or
you're
not.
right. So for Sean and Steve too, Fighting
Mhm.
Brawl has a base level of 25%.
Oh, interesting.
All other fightings start at 0. Handgun has a base 20%, and rifle and shotgun have 25%. Any other firearm starts at 0.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So
That
I
means
think
your
that
rifle
actually-
number's a lot higher, or you can move the points to
I
something
was gonna
else.
say, I think that clears up 25 points for me. Because I'll keep the shotgun at 50. I don't want him to be, like, overly great at
But
fighting
you
or
can
guns.
put those somewhere else, right?
Yeah, so that would clear up 25 points to put somewhere else for me. Okay.
What was your starting amount of points, Sarah?
For education,
Yeah. What was your total it gave you? It'll let you have.
204 unless I'm miscalculating that. 51 times 4.
That's what it was, right, Steve? Just education times 4.
Correct. Education times
Yep.
4.
And then you put 30 in credit rating. Okay. 174 left.
Thinking
The
Right now,
drive,
mechanical
electrical
repair is
repair, and
10.
mechanical repair are the big ones that will be super useful at various points.
so let's see.
And don't forget, for the rest of those, you're adding to the base value.
Yeah. So like mechanical repair was 10, now it's 50, so I subtracted 3 points. And I'm going to add more to that, most likely. I'm
Right.
just
It's a good start point, yep.
doing starts before I commit.
Electrical repair starts at 10.
Probably do that one the same. Turn it into 50 just to see where we're at.
And then it would be 30 points to also bring Derived to 50. Which I'd do, if it was me.
Okay. Alright. So Tyler, just to give you a heads up, I bumped my Persuade up 5 points.
Okay.
To 45. And then I increased my 2 other languages, which I did not earlier, each by 10.
So they're 20 now. Okay.
They are 20 now. My other languages, which were written in before you told us some of the languages we should be taking, about where this guy might have been going in his life. He has other language Spanish 20 and other language Mandarin 20.
Super handy.
So I upped mechanical pair to
To 60? Okay.
Yes.
So you got 54 left. Now, beyond the ones that Steve listed in the chat, you also get to pick 2, just anything you want, as part of this stage before you even move to your free points.
By the way, I took Charm as my speech skill. We probably want to spread that out.
Okay.
Steve took Intimidate. Or not, or
No,
he took Persuade.
Steve took Charm. So
Oh,
it's a good thing you
operate.
brought that up.
No, he said Persuade.
I increased my Persuade using the extra 20 got. My Persuade is only a 45, my Charm is a 60. But I think that's okay.
What are the other ones?
I don't
Intimidate
know
and
how.
Fast Talk, okay.
Fast talk.
Yes. I have a fast talk of 30.
Are you putting anything in Fast Talk, Eric, as a drifter?
Yep.
What's
I have 60 in fast
Okay.
talk.
That's spread enough. Yeah, you can both have Charm, because now you have 3 social skills off the bat. 3 of the 4.
You said you didn't let us start over 90, right?
Correct, unless, your education thing pushes that up. Your H thing that we did previously.
Yeah. Wait, as a skill or something else?
The age raises only apply to characteristics.
Okay.
Skills aren't supposed to start over 90.
What do you think of the validity of spot hidden for a mechanic? Like,
Yes. Because
Okay.
you're always looking for holes where there shouldn't be and burned wires.
Very much.
If you have any points left, you could also consider first aid. I bet you cut yourself
Yep.
a lot. Or operate
Yep.
heavy machine. I don't know how much that one's going to come up, though. I've done this campaign before, and I think it comes up once or twice, but not real often.
oh, what about navigate?
Also good. For as many people as possible. I know Steve has some in that.
I have a lot. I mean, I have 40. By no means
Makes sense, too, if
cornering the
you're somebody
market on
who's
navigate.
exploring the world with these newfangled car things.
Auto. Anybody know how to drive?
Sarah
Me.
does.
She's the only one?
So far, yeah. Well, I don't know.
I'm in
Sean,
charge
you
of
don't
the
have any-
vroom vroom.
Sean probably takes the train around town up to this point.
Cars
Yeah.
are slow. Everybody should take the trolley,
It's electric, too.
right?
For now.
Who needs cars? We've got public transit.
I know, right? What are you talking
Listen.
about? A highway.
How often does... Oh, locksmith. Hmm.
Ooh. You gotta break into those cars.
That's actually true.
That's what I was
They're not
thinking.
they're not often locked, but they can be, especially like rich people or gangsters.
I mean, aren't we talking about Model Ts at this point?
Yeah, but the Model T had a window and a door. They were covered. That's what made the Model T special. It was covered.
I've got...
Plus, I
20
would
more-
say that might just lend itself to a mechanic. You understand how a lock works because it's a mechanical device.
Mm-hmm.
I already have a 30 in first aid on its own, which is
Yes.
pretty cool.
Plus, this is Call of Cthulhu. There's no battle medicine, so you know.
True. So yeah, if you could give that a look and see what you think.
I was watching as you did it, and I think it's good. Now you can do your bonus points, which is
Gee.
intelligence times 2 to anything.
Oh, that's epic, yes.
I may be done, Tyler.
Okay. I might consider a special kind of brawl, Sarah, while you're doing your free points.
I was thinking about that, because she might
Wrench
punch
attack.
mechanical things that don't work trying to fix it.
Yep. And you could put like tire iron, and I would allow that to count for like bats, or large, heavy bludgeoning weapons, basically.
Oh my god, I love it!
Okay, Eric, I'm gonna look at yours.
Are you gonna dual wield crescent wrenches?
You need the feet first.
Oh,
Oh.
god.
You could nunchuck together socket wrenches.
Eric has
Wrench
what
chucks.
points in handgun. Nope, rifle shotgun. Charm. A little bit of dodge. Lots of fast talk, I approve. Lots of boxing. Got some first aid. Speaks French and is fluent in the hobo code. Lots of listen, that makes sense. Lots of spot hidden, lots of stealth, a little bit of palming shit because, you know,
Because
food
you
ain't
gotta.
free. Yeah, I'm good with this. I like it. Everyone can see your sheet right now too, so they know what you did.
Cool,
They
cool,
know
cool.
what you did.
We can see that you're full of shit.
Yes, you were all full of sheet. Take a quick gander at Sean's too while everybody's watching. All thousands of you. Right.
Someday. Ride pertains to horses? Yes?
Yeah,
Oh,
animals, right, yep. Let me go
That
to
is
Sydney.
my primary mode of trained transportation.
I normally, in other games, I do characters that are really good with animals. Well, I think I'm gonna make one that's really bad with animals for once. Could be funny.
Clive is really good at telling you what shit's worth. Oh, wow. Okay. Clive is the charmiest charmer that ever charmed his way into his story.
He's a person of the people, man.
He took that shit to
He gets-
90.
Holy
Whoa.
crap!
He's really good at punching people.
Damn.
History, good. History's a good one. I approve. Fluent in your own language. That makes sense. Lots of points in your own language. Library use, also real good. Approved. Listen. Yep. Psychology. Don't let Sean die. He's got all the good shit.
He's
I know
going
it's
to
important.
be the first one to die.
Put Cthulhu's in front of you. What do? I'm
Punch
really
it.
good at
Talk your way
punching,
out of it.
so-
Yeah,
He didn't like me
charmed him.
talking to him. We debated for a bit, and he was like, "Well, I'll take the Pacific Ocean. You guys keep the Atlantic." And
What's your party wipe? Well, the photographer tried to punch Cthulhu, and then when he died, the mechanic tried to wrench chuck him, and then everyone died.
Wrench
to
chuck.
punch
All
him.
downhill from there.
twice.
And the rich guy was like, "These guys are dumb. I'm out." He lived. He's not sane, but he lived. And no one knows what happened to the hobo.
Disappeared into the ether.
Disappeared with all the money.
He could be heard muttering, "Cthulhu Fatan," as he ran into the distance.
Sounds right.
Do we tend to
What
use throw in this?
That would be for like knives or hand axes
Or wrenches?
Grenade?
wrenches. Yes,
Wrenches.
Sticks of dynamite?
yes.
If you can dodge a wrench,
This is
You know
taking
what?
place mostly in the
I'm gonna
cold,
add it.
right?
The prologue is in 25. The campaign picks up in 28, and it can take In my experience, 3 to 5 in-game years, because travel takes for fucking ever.
Wow.
Perfect. That means the rich guy will survive just in time for the
The
Great
Great Depression, yes.
That's so depressing.
Aww.
I think one of the less bad endings of the game is the Great Depression is worse because you didn't quite stop everything.
Oh.
Nyarlathotep gets his claws into everything, yo.
Nyarlathotep causes the Great
No,
Depression?
makes it worse.
I don't know. Causes
Wow.
seems kind of.
Causes. I'm liking
I
causes.
mean,
So that's how the Dust Bowl happened.
It's like,
sucked all the
run
life
on
out of the
bank.
plants.
If I make everybody run on the bank, then
Sure thing, Mr. Stewart.
Y'all look pretty good. Did you get all your bonus points in yet, Sarah?
I'm trying to think of what would be a good one because she's supposed to be kind of a gambler.
Fast talk is the verbal form of that, and then sleight of hand would be the cheating form of that. And then there is a way to do games. I don't remember, but also psychoanalysis is reading people, like sense motive in D&D.
That's what. Yes, I'm gonna add that.
Or wait, no, psychology is reading people. Psychoanalysis is actually healing mental illness. Sorry.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Psychoanalysis is brain healing.
Yeah, so you want psychology for sense motive.
Got it.
Ooh, that's
And
another
I
good-
think that's it.
That's another good reason to keep you around. I cannot read people. I'm charming. Not as charming as Sean, but charming. But I can't tell when people like me.
You get a lot of tips. Here's a 5. Is that guy lying to me? Okay, is
Pretty
anybody
excited
still
for that.
spending points? I think that's everyone.
I think I'm done. If you give it a once over and the approval of you, the keeper of the people who are fearing for their lives all the time, that'd be great.
I approve, except fighting skills. We're gonna make this a thing. Is now wrench chucks.
What about a crowbarkin?
Crowbarkin works also.
what's a crowbar?
Oh, like a boken, a sword, well, a bamboo sword, boken.
Dig it.
Okay, next tab to go to is backstory. Now,
Oh.
you don't all have to do this until the next session. You got to have this done. You don't have to do it right now, but we're going to go over it anyways.
Okay.
Most of the ideas and abilities that make you interesting and fun to play are a matter of choice, not dice. Eric, thanks to gods for that. You need to think about what personal history, friends, enemies, and achievements could have led you to where you are now. There's 10 categories on that tab. 6 I would prefer that you have at least one entry for. Personal description, ideology, beliefs, significant people, meaningful locations, treasured possessions, and traits. The rest, feel free to add, but you don't have to. Phobias and manias, unless you want to start with one, which I don't recommend. You don't need any. Injuries and scars, if it fits your life. Arcane tomes and artifacts, you'll have none. And encounters with strange entities, nothing serious, but if you wanted, like Eric's background had a little bit of that, you wanted to have run into something a little weird, put it there.
I think I saw a ghost once.
Right. You may have run into a lesser form of the mythos, like a ghost or a cultist or poltergeist, but not like Amigo or anything weird like that yet.
Gremlins?
No, I believe you were just seeing the smell of yourself. Like a shower.
Yes, you could definitely call them gremlins.
Well, I mean, because that's what they saw in the wars on the airplane wings.
Yep.
But
Foo Fighters and gremlins. So
now that first one I haven't heard of.
Foo Fighters are what they called aliens because they didn't know what to call them in World War II, but they would see weird planes and flying saucers doing impossible maneuvers and just called them Foo Fighters. It's where the band name came from.
Oh my god, my mind is totally blown.
So your background serves 3 functions in the game. 1, it's a set of pithy statements that serve as a guide to role-playing. It's a fancy way of saying it helps you act like you want to be. The second is I might call upon them during development phase for sanity point recovery. This first 6 especially, you rely on to recover your sanity in downtime. You fall back on the things that make you feel secure and safe. Third, perhaps most importantly, the corruption of your background mirrors your sanity loss and growing knowledge of the mythos. As you understand the truth of reality, all that once was and all that you once held dear becomes meaningless. During episodes of insanity or as a result of major wounds, I'm going to open your background page and fuck with it. Ultimately, if you go too deeply into the truth, your only connections to the world are madness and pain. A note on contacts, since you're looking at your backgrounds. During the game, you may wish to make use of your personal and professional contacts. I might just say, yeah, that would be a thing because of your background, or I might make you roll dice. I would make you roll the dice that match the thing. So, like, do I know the famous chemist? Roll chemistry. Do I know a police detective? Roll investigation, or not investigation, but whatever I can find that fits.
Sure.
And if you succeed, I'll give you a cool contact. If you critically succeed, you'll get something awesome. And if you critically fail, you lose friends, but you still get that phone call done. This is the last time I'm helping you, Green. Last time I'm helping you, Lombardi. That's your last name, right?
Yeah.
Or they'll double cross you.
But at the end, the call of Cthulhu was the friendships we.
And that's the more you wish you didn't know.
And then after that, you would do equipment. Equipment, basically, your day-to-day standards are, we discussed that under credit rating. The likelihood of owning major possessions are also indicated by credit rating. And that means I'll tell you, sure, you can start with this thing without rolling dice.
A prototype jet plane.
You could probably have access to one, but it makes you roll. On page 47 of the core book is cash and assets. Cash doesn't mean it's in your pocket. Cash means when you're like, how much can I spend right now to do the thing? I'm going to be like, look at your cash. Does it fit that? Okay, sure. If it's higher than that, I'm going to be like, fall back on your assets. And if it's too close, we're going to do a credit rating roll to see if it costs you money permanently. And then spending level is how much you can theoretically safely spend all the time, but don't abuse it constantly. Unless you're,
Mine's easy to figure
unless you're
out.
Steve's
0.
character.
Excuse me, I'd like to buy Mississippi.
Steve, what's your spending level?
But
I'm just
why?
curious.
Help me derive spending level again.
90. His spending level in the modern equivalent is he could burn through like $5,000 or $10,000 a day.
My spending level is $50.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. $10,000.
Wait, no,
is
didn't
like
you set
10
yours
cents
to 90?
For this guy.
Steve?
According to the auto-filling of the sheet, it's still 50, but yes, my credit limit is 90.
The sheet lied to you. Your spending level is 250. There's a big
Let's
jump
go ahead and
between
add it.
89 and 90.
Let me just
Wow.
go ahead and add that 2 there. Alright, yeah. My credit rating is 90, so yes, my spending level is now 250. And how
Which
do
is-
what would my cash be? Does it say?
1,800 to 1,960. Credit rating times 20. For you.
So 90 times 20.
Which is where they get 1,800, yep. It's not times 20 for everyone, just for Steve.
Cash 1,800.
Equipment-wise, don't worry about adding it now. When we actually start the next session, and I read what's happening and how you got into it, the first thing we'll do is you can say, would I have brought this with me, and we'll discuss whether you would have been able to bring that across country, across borders.
I vote custom tools.
That's probably will work, yes.
Yes.
And in the 20s, you'd probably even be able to get your rifles across, especially if you're rich.
Nice.
Guess who's rich?
My boss.
Okay, now we're going to discuss some other stuff. Advancement, called the Investigator Development Phase. When you successfully use a skill in play, this is the opposite of Delta Green, Eric. When you succeed, you check the little arrow next to your skills. Sorry, Hazel, I'm clicking the skill button.
That's okay.
And it lights up. That's how you mark that you succeeded on that skill. This is the first time you succeed on that skill after your most recent advancement phase, or from the beginning of the game in this case.
How American succeed at something, get better at it.
If you use the bonus die, you don't get to check it, and if you use luck points, you don't get to check it. Only on actual straight I succeed rolls.
Huh. Okay.
If it's an opposed roll and you both succeeded, only the winner gets to tick the skill. Typically, investigator development phases occur at the end of a scenario, but this is a campaign. So at the end of chapters, or when dramatically appropriate, like you're getting on the Orient Express for 5 weeks, you're going to do a development phase. When that happens, you'll roll D100 for every skill you have ticked. If you roll equal to or over your current skill, or you roll over 95 if your skill is ridiculously high, then you get to advance that skill. You'll roll a D10 and add that many points to that skill. If you roll under, you fail. No raise this time. You can raise your skills above 100 this way. That'd be rare, though. You'd have to roll a lot of 95s. And then you uncheck everything, and then check them again the next time you succeed. The better you get at a thing, the harder it is to improve it.
Makes sense.
As a note, Cthulhu Mythos and credit ratings never get ticked. That's why there's no tick box for those. When you attain 90% or more for the first time in any skill, you roll 2d6 and add the number of points to your current sanity. Let's keep that in mind. Discipline and self-esteem make you more mentally secure. Also in investigator development phases, which is the same as downtime in other RPGs, you can gain sanity points by spending time with an aspect of your backstory. It's called self-help, and that's what I was talking about with those important 6. We'll roleplay that out. Check your credit rating and review your finances, which means you might be able to raise your credit rating if it's thematically appropriate to what happened in the story. Reduce all sanity limits by 1. This is called getting used to the awfulness. The more you're exposed to something, the more your limits, which we'll get into when you start rolling sanity, will get better. Also, if you break certain age barriers, I will need you all to put down your actual starting age somewhere on the sheet, probably in your backstory, because the game will go through a couple years of time. When you break certain barriers, you get smarter, but your body gets worse.
What's that threshold where the stats get weird?
Low 20s to low 30s, and then it's 30s to almost 50 before it breaks again. I think, right, Steve? Or is that wrong? That sounds wrong.
I apologize. Repeat that?
Age
I didn't
threshold?
think it got weird to like 39.
Yeah, it's pretty high.
Oh, yes. You don't really start taking negatives based on age until break 39 and go into your 40s.
And then there's another one in your 50s or 60s.
Yes,
There's also one if you start really young, but none of you did.
As you get older, your mental stats are improved, or have the possibility to be improved. So you have to roll to make them, but your physical stats statically decrease. So your strength and size, I think, start to go, or strength and con, I think, start to go away.
Tell us about it.
Yeah.
That's true. I'm the baby of the group, aren't I?
I don't know, you and Steve maybe, but not the rest of us. No, yeah, it's definitely you. You're right. Like I said, at the end of every session, we also do a check for recovering luck points, as discussed before, and my custom rule in all my games. At the end of every session, I have each player vote for their favorite player that session. This could be for any reason, something cool in the roleplay, Or Sean hasn't got votes in 10 sessions, here's a pity point. To I like your face, here's a point. I don't care, but you got to tell us why you gave the point. For every point you get, for every point you get, you can do one of two things with it. You can add one bonus die to a single roll in a future session, or you can immediately get a second luck recovery point roll.
Huh.
So remember that, because there's no fate points in this game. So I give you luck in the form of fate. Because this is Call of Cthulhu, before we stop, let's talk about sanity. You begin the game sane and somewhat rational. I don't know, you're a rich white guy, you're not that rational. During your investigations, you will encounter otherworldly horrors, alien creatures, and the terrible cosmic truths of the Cthulhu mythos, all of which will challenge your state of mind and sense of normality, pushing you to the very edge of sanity. In some cases, the experience will be too much, and you will descend into periods of temporary, indefinite, or permanent madness. Sanity points will go up and down, mostly down. They determine whether you can withstand the horrors of the mythos as well as fear-inducing situations. If your sanity ever hits 0, you are permanently and incurably insane and are no longer a player character. This is why people watching will see that everybody has a backup character, and I will also have pre-mades if your backup dies that come with the campaign.
Oh god.
Sanity is modeled after the behavior of protagonists in Lovecraft's fiction, who more often than not faint or go mad when confronted with mind-bending physics and monstrous entities from beyond space and time. A higher number of sanity points represents you being able to rationalize traumatic events or repress horrific memories. The lower it gets, the less possible that becomes.
No, I don't remember a 300-foot tall squid-faced monster coming up out of the ocean. No.
In fact, I don't remember that day at all. I must have been drunk.
Yeah, no.
Man. I went to the store, got some milk. I was on the docks, and then, yeah.
Then it was Wednesday.
And it was Wednesday.
Tuesdays, am I right?
That's the whiskey.
When these things happen, I'll make you do a sanity roll. If you fail the sanity roll, you're either going to lose none or a very small amount of... if you succeed on the roll, you will lose none or a very small amount of points. If you fail, you lose medium to a lot. If you lose too many all at once, you go temporarily insane. If things compound at that stage, you can get long-term insanities. Permanent madness is bad. Hopefully it doesn't happen to you. One of you's gonna do it, though.
Whatever direction Sean is in.
Up and to the left. Wait, that's my left. Up and to the right. For you. Yes, there you go. The duration of the insanity depends on the number and proportion of points lost. The three states are temporary, indefinite, and permanent, but regardless of whether it's any of those, there are three distinct game phases. First is a Bout of Madness, during which your control is compromised. There's a chart we roll on, and the chart tells you what you do to roleplay for that. I got distracted by the awesome memes. Second phase is the Bout of Madness is followed by...
We are trying our best to distract Tyler in our Discord chat for this game.
The Bout of Madness at Stage 2 is followed by a period of underlying insanity, during which the player regains full control of your character. However... May he rest in peace. However, you are prone
There'll
to
be a
delusion.
Patreon to join our Discord channel.
Like and
Please stay
subscribe.
tuned.
In Phase 2, you are prone to delusions.
Silly gifts.
In Phase 2, you are prone to delusions, phobias, and further bouts of madness. And then Phase 3 is recovery. If you lose 5 or more sanity points in one roll, you go temporarily insane. When you lose a fifth or more of your current points in one game day, you go indefinitely insane. When they hit 0, you're permanently insane, and then you might as well be dead. Increasing sanity. I can award them at the end of scenarios or chapters if you do cool things. I can also artificially lower them without results if you act cowardly, brutally, or murderously. Cowardly doesn't mean running away. Cowardly means shoving Eric, the bad guy, then running away.
Good luck, I have a size 90.
Yes, but I've learned this new
beefy
technique
boy.
called judo. Round. I have no skill points in it though, so
I'm gonna do what I saw them do. Nothing's happening. Like I said before, the first time you increase a skill to 90 or higher, you get 2d6 sanity points.
Psycho points.
Psycho
Oh
points.
my.
Psychotherapy.
we're playing a whole different game now. Psycho points.
Intense psychoanalysis can return sanity points if done in downtime by a player or an NPC that you pay. And self-help, leaning on your backstory elements.
You know, in the 20s, you couldn't walk to the store without bumping into a psychoanalyst. Just like, so.
Everyone knew what it was then, yes.
Like, can I just not be psychoanalyzed?
Getting used to the awfulness, like I said. Once you've lost as many sanity points for seeing a particular sort of monster as is maximum possible. So if my entrance says Deep 1 is a maximum loss of 8 sanity, after you lose a total of 8 sanity to Deep 1s across the campaign, we'll introduce a reasonable interval where Deep 1s don't make you go crazy anymore. You're accepting them.
Fish heads! Punch.
After a time, though, they'll start freaking you out again. So that's always temporary. Also, you keep track of the sanity point loss to each individual Mythos entity in any way you can, notepad, whatever. And then for every investigator development phase, reduce all of those numbers by 1. So, there's 6 points is the maximum amount you can lose to a Deep 1. You'll keep track of how many points you've lost to a Deep 1, but if we pass a development phase, you subtract the number of points you've lost by 1, as you heal, but then become susceptible to them scaring you again. So, Mythos Hardened. So, Cthulhu Mythos skill, as you gain it. Understanding the truth of reality and comprehending the awfulness of the cosmos and how much we truly don't matter will inevitably and irrevocably change how you look at things. Your maximum sanity is always reduced by the number of points you have in the Cthulhu Mythos skill. So if you have
like
50 points,
Reddit.
Yep. So if you or 8chan, if you have 50 points in Cthulhu Mythos, your maximum sanity is 49 now. Your current sanity won't change, but you can never recover above 49. So once your current sanity drops below 49, you can start recovering sanity again. Mythos Hardened means when your Mythos skill rises above the value of your sanity score. So when your Mythos is higher than your permanent sanity, a turning point has been reached. Your understanding of the universe undergoes a paradigm shift, and you're permanently changed. How you roleplay that will have to work out, but from that point onward, all sanity loss is halved forever from everything.
Wow.
Okay.
That's intense.
Yes. Magic! Lovecraft stories have magic, and magic in the game, it does have spells. Some may sound familiar if you play fantasy RPGs. However, it's Lovecraft science, or Lovecraft magic. What that means is delving into it changes you.
Lovecraft science. Reanimator?
Reanimator. Should be
Herbert
a Sony
West.
classic.
Where's my Criterion
Yes,
collection?
exactly.
Reanimator?
Mythos magic is also variable, meaning it might not do the same thing every time you cast it, and it might not take the same thing away from you every time you cast it. However, there's no levels to Mythos spells. If you find a tome, and you read the tome, you'll lose sanity, you gain knowledge of some spells, and casting them either drains sanity or physical or characteristics from your character, temporarily or permanently. Some spells are silly light, some spells are ridiculously powerful. You never know. So, it centers mostly on perilous summoning of horrible entities, banishing horrible entities, or doing horrible things to people, or protecting yourself. That's really all there is. None of them are quick, and many have very exacting conditions, and they have to be studied and learned.
And they all have a cost, which usually means your sanity or your flesh, or both.
Correct. Mythos Knowledge isn't necessary to cast a spell, though. It's usually an intelligence roll. Mythos Knowledge is very rarely rolled. It tells me whether you know a thing. So if your Mythos skill is 20%, I could be like, yeah, you've heard of a deep one, for instance. That's all it really does.
Intelligence, you say?
Yes, usually. Sometimes Constitution. And that's it.
All right.
Dope.
And several of you have already filled in your backstory too. I like it. During play, I will make sure character sheets are up so people can see these things, but we don't necessarily need to discuss them amongst each other, so you can roleplay them. As far as I remember, Sarah and Steve's characters have connections, but the rest of you don't, not until the adventure begins.
I believe that's correct.
Yes! That means we are done with character creation, and our next session will be the prologue in Peru of Masks of Nyarlathotep.
I'm excited.
It's gonna be awesome.
Guys, he was trying to hit that title and plug the book one more time. Tyler, you want to take that one again?
Masks of Nyarlathotep.
There you go.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Alright, see everybody next time.
Later, bye.
Bye.